What's up, everybody, and welcome to Relationship Reset. I am your coach, counselor Russell Tomlinson, along with my lovely daughter Stephanie, therapist, and we are going to help you to understand the power of how to go about resetting your relationship, regardless of what relationship it might be. It might be husband and wife, it could be children, parent, work relationships, whatever the case may be. We're going to help you to understand the power of how to reset it. Stephanie?
What's up, everybody? So, as he said, my name is Stephanie Tomlinson. I am a licensed mental health therapist, and I am excited about our conversation today. So, we are talking about relationship reset after cheating. I mean, who doesn't want to know about what most women have been cheated on?
Yeah.
We've all, most of us, we all have experienced what that feels like. And now we're going to get into a conversation about what does that look like? Can a relationship last? Will it work after cheating?
And we have some people that are qualified to deal with this subject matter. LaTroy and Christina Brown, they have a powerful ministry actually called Married Number Four Real. Married for Real. And you guys have had an experience, and we're going to hear about it. And you're going to walk us through how not only you overcame cheating, but how you went about bringing about restoration, reconciliation, and today you have a very strong, vibrant marriage. You got to tell us about the journey.
Wow.
Lord, where do we go?
Well, I'm gonna start. I'm gonna start from how we met.
Yeah.
We met through mutual friends.
We did.
My friend wanted to meet a girl. It was. I'm gonna just be real. It was a call, one of those calls.
Oh,
Okay.
Lord.
All right. And I said, okay, let me drop you off. I took him to the area to drop him off, and she came out.
Yep.
And like, we want to go to the store. I looked at her. I said, well, she's kind of cute. Where we going? So I stayed. And but to fast forward this thing, we had interaction in and out, and
We did.
we met each other, kept meeting up once in a while.
We would just always run into each other.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then eventually God called me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I felt him pulling and calling me, and I'm like, okay, I got to give up everything, because at that time I was out in the streets and stuff, and I said, I want to give this thing up. So I left the streets and gave my life to God. And there was this one particular day that I was praying. And honestly, I was like 17, 18 years old. I'm like, God, I'm getting bored. I'm going to just be real. Like, my friends out there, and I'm like, you got to help me.
Yeah.
And the thought came to my mind to go to that same friend's house to just hang out a little bit. He was on the phone with that girl that
Yeah.
and he said, hey, blah, 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 Christina just gave her life to God. And I'm like, wow. In my mind, I'm thinking, wow, finally I can connect with somebody who's going in the same direction as I am. And so, long story short, I told him to tell Christina to call me. So she calls me,
I did.
and we got together. Like, she called me that night.
Yeah.
But she ain't been nowhere close to giving her life
You
to
know
God.
what? I knew
Like,
you
she-
were going to say that.
like-
Like, you weren't all the way
Somebody
saved.
lying.
He wasn't all the
Like,
way
somebody
saved
lying.
either. Okay.
I said, somebody lying.
Yeah, we both was lying, obviously.
So we got together, and we started dating, what we call kind of dating.
We was hooking
We were
up.
just hanging
Okay.
together and hanging out from that part. And we used to go to this place that would overlook the city in Charleston. And I remember God was still dealing with me, because at this time I was not focused on on my relationship with God. We were smoking, doing our thing together. It was just us at this time.
This wasn't just cigarettes, was it?
No, but the herbs.
all
You know, we
right.
had some
No,
herbs.
we had the urban
Something from the garden.
Unfortunately.
something
Yeah,
from the garden. Yeah.
And how would you know that?
Right.
That part. Mm.
And so we, God was kept like that pressure, that call, and I'm like, okay, I gotta stop this. And so I gave her an ultimatum, like, if you're gonna be with me, we're gonna be together, then we gotta stop this, because God, I feel like God is calling me. She's smoking, like, what you talking about? Like,
Latroy,
what you-
stop. Stop. Like,
she like, I'm like, look, we gotta stop all of this, And so at that moment, she said, I don't know what that looks like. I don't know what that really means, but I'm willing to follow. And so from that day, we threw all of our beer, the
A
weed,
sandwich
and
bag full.
everything out,
was
and
a
we
lot.
said we started that journey together. So that's where we started.
Yeah.
And we got married, a year afterwards?
Yeah, things started to accelerate
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't get pregnant by myself, a year
Sure,
later.
that's for
Yeah.
sure.
She seduced me.
That only happened. That only happened once in history.
Right, right.
Listen.
Yeah.
Okay,
Right.
Mary. Okay. So I had no clue of what following God looked like, but He introduced me. He said that this
So
is
you
what
didn't grow up in church.
I did not grow up in church. I had no clue what he was referring to. I went to church on Easter, right? When else? There
Christmas.
Christmas.
Nah, we didn't even go on Christmas.
The
Like,
seasonal saint.
yeah, I think we only went on Easter. So I had no understanding of a relationship with God. So,
Yeah.
but he seemed to be very serious about this relationship with God. And so it was very interesting. It was very compelling. And I said, okay, let's see what this is about. And we threw the weed out the car. We dumped the beer out the car. And we hadn't touched it since. And that was 27 years ago.
Wow.
But then, yes, I got pregnant. When I was 4 months pregnant, he proposed to me in Charleston, South Carolina, on the Battery, downtown Charleston. And we got married when I was 17.
Wow.
Yeah, I was 17. So I was a 17-year-old wife and mother.
Wow.
Yes. And so I could pause there.
What-
Where would you like to?
But leading up to to answer that question, we got married, but before we got married, I knew I wanted to have a relationship and wanted to get married, but I really didn't know that I had still something that I was battling with inside of me, and so we got married. I felt God's pulling, and then like 2 years later, that pulling, I'm gonna just call it what it is, that sin, that lust, that all of that started. I'm like, what is this? Why am I still lusting after this girl? I'm married now. Why am I still, and so I thought something was wrong. And that's when the first infidelity happened.
Okay.
And that's a long story in itself
Yeah.
right there.
I want to pause here really
Yeah.
quickly because during this, we dated for 2 years. There was no indication of lust. I
Right.
mean, we were always together. We were best friends. We had a son and then another son 2 years later. And so when the infidelity came in the second year of our marriage, I had a 2-year-old and a 6-week-old baby.
Wow.
And so that, we could pause there, but
100%.
that's a whole story in itself.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. One of the dynamics of marriage, and a lot of times, I think people miss this dynamic of what we call naked and not ashamed. Marriage has this ability to uncover things
Yes.
that we never probably thought that we had to deal with.
Yes.
Yes.
So all kinds of, people say, well, we've been married 85 years. We know everything about each other. You never know nothing. And people think that if they shack up, they think that, well, we've lived together now 8 years.
Yeah.
So surely now we can get married because, but once you get married, even things that you never saw
Yes.
when you were cohabiting,
Yes.
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 all of a sudden now things are coming because marriage has this ability to,
Mirror.
one of the meanings of marriage is uncovering.
Yeah.
So some things were just simply being uncovered in you.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Big time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Big time. And I thought like it was gone, but to me, it was lying dormant. And when we got married, it's like, okay, what's happening here? The temptation's coming back. What's all this? What's happening? And then it just came in a season to where, I didn't have mentors, didn't have nobody to actually, show me or teach me or anything. I knew I love God, but then this sin was like really
Yeah.
pulling on me.
Yeah.
And I didn't know how to fight it. And so that was the first case of infidelity that happened. And we kind of recovered real quick because at this time we were youth pastors. We were youth
Picture
pastors?
that. Picture
Yeah,
that.
I mean,
Picture that.
Well,
Look at.
Yeah, but let me
Yeah.
ask Christina this,
Yeah.
okay? When he says that you are recovered quickly, what does that kind of what does a quick recovery look like
Oh,
after
God.
such a devastating encounter like that?
Well, one is God gave me a dream. So remember when he introduced this God to me, I said yes, but I hadn't actually had a road to Damascus encounter or an experience with this supernatural God, right? And so this experience actually gave me access to experiencing him in a way that honestly I probably would have never, I don't know, gotten to. But when he gave me that dream, I went to sleep on a Friday night, woke up Saturday morning, and I said, I just had the craziest dream that you cheated on me. This is weird. I don't dream like this. What is this?
Wow.
Life is good.
Yeah.
2-year-old, 6-week-old baby. I'm literally about to return to work after having my second son. So it wasn't any intuition. It wasn't me snooping around finding things. There was no signs at all. There was no possible way for me to have known this had not God downloaded,
Right.
supernaturally downloaded this dream. And so when I woke up that Saturday morning, I said, the weirdest thing just happened. I just dreamed you cheated on me. And I remember jumping on him naked. And I said, I'm a woman, right? And I know how we can be. I know the power of a woman. I know how persuasive and seductive we can be. So if a woman were to do what I'm doing to you right now, what would you do? And he says, I'll push her off of me, of course. And I'm like,
First thing.
I said, okay. So I'm looking him in his eyes, and I'm still not getting anything, right? And so Saturday went by. We went through life as normal. Sunday, life is normal. And then Monday, in the kitchen, and I'll never forget it, I was making stuffed pork chops. I was making stuffed pork chops, and he comes in the kitchen and he turns off the stove and the oven, and he says, I need to talk with you right now. Can you please come sit down? I have to share something with you. And I come, it was urgent. I can see it on his face. I came and I sat down, and he said, remember the dream you had is true. I did cheat on you. And here's when he cheated. That Friday afternoon.
Oh, my God.
That Friday afternoon. He had a 2-3 hour window, and he drove trucks.
You had the dream when?
That night.
Friday
night.
evening.
The night it happened.
Wow.
The night it happened.
Yep.
Spiritually downloaded.
Wow.
I already knew. Like, God is a snitch for real. He does. Like, for
Yo.
real. And I already knew that I got to come clean. God already told her, I felt guilty. Let me just come out and tell her what's going on.
Well, that was that oneness at work too.
Yeah.
To become one, there's just certain things that when
telling
two
you.
people are connected like that, they
Yeah.
share a consciousness of some
Yeah.
sort.
And that woman's intuition, they call
Yeah.
us the prophecies of the prophet of the marriage. So that woman's intuition as well. Y'all can't get nothing past us.
Listen.
No.
You can't.
But did healing come with that? I mean, you got over it, but was there a process of healing?
I think what happened was the busyness of the ministry. We did repair. There was repentance, remorse, but then at that time we didn't get any more information than we had from the beginning of the marriage. So we went about our normal life. We took a pause from ministry, but then we got back in ministry. We did youth ministry for like 10 years, and so we were good, as far as we did repair. Nothing else was happening. We started actually growing in God, and then a few years later, God called us out of the place of worship that we were in. He was dealing with us, and he called us out of the place of worship. And when we left, to make a long story short again, the people didn't treat us right at all.
Okay.
Like we got hurt, we got broken, and my heart was, as a man, my thing was in my identity. I was pastor this, and the leader in the church and things like that. And so when we left, so much came after us. They started preaching from us, about us over the pulpit. And so, that really hurt because they
Yeah.
were family. And so God led us to Atlanta. He led us to Atlanta.
From North Carolina?
From South Carolina.
South Carolina to Atlanta.
Yep, to Atlanta.
Okay.
But we didn't know, and I didn't know that I was leaving Charleston broken. Like, I came to Atlanta broken. And started, at this time I got my degree and everything. Things seemed to be pretty good between us. Let me back it up. Things seemed to be good in terms, we knew that we love each other, but there was something happening within our relationship when it came to our communication. We were missing each other. Somehow we were missing each other. We had never argued for the first 10 years of our marriage.
Wow.
Even after the cheating?
Even after the cheating. We had arguments, but then they weren't toxic arguments. We had disagreements. We can manage our, disagreements in a good way. We had good conflict management. But then after, around this time when we was about to move to Atlanta, I don't know what happened. Like, I knew it was a heavy attack. We were arguing, toxic, and I remember getting out of the car, slamming the door, and just walking off, just angry. Some anger just started to enter into our relationship. And I don't know, I looking back, I think it was because maybe I was hurt. Maybe we were hurt. And so we moved to Atlanta, and the argument started to get worse. The disconnection, and she was just asking me to be there for her as a husband. She was just asking me for more intimacy, more connection, and I thought I was just thinking as a man. I figured that, hey, I'm paying the bills, I'm doing this. I'm bringing out that list.
Yeah.
I ain't going out clubbing. I'm not doing this. You don't appreciate me.
Yeah.
And that's the way I was thinking.
Yeah.
And that's what you heard when she asked for you. You heard from an accusatory
Absolutely.
ear
Big
that
time.
if you are asking something from me, that means I lack.
Yes.
That means I don't have it.
Yes.
So that's the validation that you were seeking from her, that you was not getting from her.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so I thought something was wrong with her. I thought, like, you don't know. I'm a catch, girl. You're like what you complaining for? I'm working and I'm here, I'm praying, and we going out on dates. But all along it was like she just wasn't satisfied. It was something that I wasn't given. I know now, but back then I just thought it was totally her just being ungrateful. And the second infidelity happened. I was working at this company, and I called myself getting advice from another lady.
Now let me ask you this: was that your excuse to validate so you won't feel guilty, or did you really believe you were getting advice?
I felt like, now that I look at it, I really felt like, honestly, one part was, yes, I wanted to get advice, but then there was an attraction there. So it was like, I knew that there was an attraction there, but then let me try to, make this thing happen to see, maybe, now if I try these things that this young lady is sharing and I still get the whatever, then I know that something is wrong with her.
Okay.
So it was kind of sort of just validating the way, and so I would do these things, and I just kept getting the complaint. I felt like, it really deep down in my heart, it was like, she just don't appreciate me. I'm just, and then on top of that, I was, being amongst leaders who were supposed to be leaders in the church and seeing some of the things that they were doing, and that hurt compiled on top of not feeling valid, not feeling appreciated. I was like, forget everything. I was like, forget everything. And so I totally let my guards down. And then that's when the second infidelity happened. And she would tell me all throughout this time that you're wicked, like something is wrong. But I was like, you don't know what you're talking, like, what, something's wrong with you. But she would say, you're wicked, like something's wrong with you. And I couldn't see it. But that moment that the infidelity happened and everything hit the fan, I looked at her in tears, and I said, what kind of man would do this to his wife? Because I didn't get married to cheat, you know.
Yeah.
But that was the moment for me to really show me.
Let me ask Christina a question. So Was it ever a situation where a time when you felt like I'm just not good enough for him, attractive enough? It's my fault. I'm not woman enough. What reason did you give in your mind for his cheating, his infidelity?
Well, going back really quickly to the 1st, keeping in mind I'm 17 when I got married. So there was a lack of value, a lack of self-worth. But when I had that encounter with God the first time,
Right.
I remember sitting in that house the entire day by myself. The kids I took to his mom's, and he went wherever he went at. And I was home all day from morning to night. And I remember sitting in my living room. Morning turned into night, and I did not move off of the couch.
Wow.
And I remember saying to God, why did you let this happen to me, right? We want to blame God. That's the first thing I thought of. And because I felt innocent, I felt like this is just cruel, right?
You were betrayed, right?
You've
Yeah,
clearly
big time.
betrayed, right?
Yeah.
But then I heard, that's when I'm starting to hear the voice of God. And during that time, God said to me, I am a jealous God. This is like audible. I'm
Have
hearing
you read
this.
that scripture before?
No, I don't know where that came from. I wasn't really in the word. I heard sermons. Maybe that's where I may have heard it from. But God said, I'm a jealous God. And I'm hearing this. I'm like, what does he mean by that? And what I realized in that moment, maybe I had allowed LaTroy to take a place that only belonged to God.
Yeah.
Maybe he was filling this place of worship that I was only supposed to give to God. Maybe he had become an idol. And I said, okay, you're a jealous God. What does that mean? And so I'll never forget it. I had a Bible called T.D. Jakes, Woman Thou Art Loose.
Yeah.
I still have it. It's 20 years old. It's raggedy. Genesis is in Revelations, like it's mixed up, right? But I remember grabbing that Bible that I had on that table, and I was looking at it the whole time, like afraid to open it. And I opened that Bible, and I just started reading the Word of God. And long story short, from that day forward, I never put it down. I took that Bible with me to work. I took it on my lunch breaks. I read it before I went to sleep. I started growing and developing my self-worth and my self-value through the Word of God.
Wow.
So keeping in mind, I never had a father. I met him once when I was 30 years old. I'm an only girl with 2 brothers. So the only man or image of a male that I had in my life up until LaTroy was 2 brothers, right? But he's supposed to be the exception to the rule. He asked me to marry him. So where is this pain and hurt and betrayal coming from? And so I said, okay, I'm going to have to somehow detach myself from him and focus on me and God. I want to at 19, the second year of marriage.
But still, that's an amazing thing to do at 19 years old.
Yeah.
But any being that would visit me supernaturally and download this dream on the inside of me, I have to get to know who he is. Like, I became so curious of him. And I think it was that curiosity and that made me fall in love with the scriptures. And so the scriptures started really developing me, and I started getting like inwardly stronger. So by the second infidelity, no, I was a totally different person.
Okay,
I was entirely different. At this point, Negro, okay?
Well, before you
Okay.
even get to the second one,
Girl.
what made you stay after the first one?
Great question. So, I have no clue. Like maybe it was the fact that he confessed. Maybe it was the fact that I started to see some changes in him. Maybe it was I have 2 children at this time. Maybe it's the value of family that I have that I wanted, and these children that we just brought into this world doesn't deserve us to tear their family apart. I can't narrow it down to one particular thing, but I knew that obviously had it continued, like if it was a habitual thing, I know I would not have stayed.
Yeah.
But it was this one thing with this girl who was also married. And I don't know what it really was. I can't really answer that, but it was my value of family, my value of redemption, just believing that, because we were best friends. Like, this is, friendship was a foundation, it's a plethora of things. I think it was.